Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. In this video, part 2 of the training series, we are going to work on the Microsoft Sentinel part. We're going to deploy Microsoft Sentinel in Azure Cloud. And after that, we're going to send all the logs from the Fortinet firewall to Sentinel. And the whole objective is for us to have a SIEM tool that analyzes all the logs. We can do some queries, get some alerts from the logs, and also create a heat map and all of that. But before we do that, I'm going to go through what we have done so far. In the previous video, we have done a lot of things together. One being we deployed the whole network in the cloud. We deployed a next-generation firewall. We created 2 VMs. On top of that, we created a whole network, different subnets, and we created basic routing on there. And the way it works right now is, for let's say for the Windows machine to connect to the internet, the traffic has to go first through this gateway, and after that to the firewall, and out to another gateway, and finally onto the internet from the public cloud, right? So we've done so much together, guys. We have learned a lot. We learned about virtual networks, how to even deploy a firewall in the cloud. On top of that, we learned about Bastion to allows us a secure remote connection to these VMs. And all on top of that, we learned how to do, let's say, initial configuration of the firewall, how to configure firewall rule, IPS, and all of that. Now, in this video, we're going to work on the SIEM tool. But the thing is, when it comes to Microsoft Sentinel, it's not straightforward as it seems. Like, it's not easy, let's say, to send firewall logs directly to the Sentinel. It's not just like SIEM Splunk, have a server, send all the logs to the SIEM server, the IP address, and do some querying and searching. But that's not the case when it comes to Sentinel. It's a little bit different. And if I want to explain how different it is, as you can see in this image, we have this firewall on the right side. We have a Linux VM, log analytic workspace, Sentinel. So Sentinel by itself, it doesn't even store the log. Okay, so it's not a log collector actually. It's actually log querying tools. So Sentinel, we use that to query logs, to create alerts, do incident response, and all of that. The log themselves actually are stored in another thing called Log Analytic Workspace. So Microsoft Sentinel and Log Analytic Workspace, they work hand in hand to present us what we need to achieve the objective, okay? But the thing is, unfortunately, I'm not sure it's a limitation. For us to send the firewall logs to Log Analytic Workspace, it's not straightforward. Actually, you cannot send the log directly to Log Analytic Workspace. We need to use some sort of a proxy here in between, a Syslog proxy. So the way it works, first of all, you have to configure the firewall with the Syslog configuration and all of that, and send the logs directly to a Linux machine that has Syslog agent collector installed on it. You cannot send the next generation firewall logs to Log Analytic Workspace directly. We send the logs to a Linux machine, and after that, the Linux machine is going to send all the Syslog logs to Log Analytic Workspace. Now, when it comes to Log Analytic Workspace, it has different tables on it, right? We have 2, 3, like hundreds of tables. And all the syslogs are going to stored in a separate table called Syslog. So if you have a Windows machine here in your cloud environment and you want to send all the logs to Log Analytic Workspace, it's not going to get installed on the Syslog table. There is another table called Windows Event, something like that, that's going to store Windows related logs. So it separates all the logs based on their origin and all of that. And after we send all the logs to Log Analytic Workspace, then we're able to use Sentinel to query these logs using KQL language, okay, custom query. And it allows us to create alerts, incidents, reports, dashboards, maps, and all of that. Hope it makes sense. If not, you can refer to Microsoft training. It's for free out there, and it's going to go deeper. I'm just touching the surface right now because we don't have time to go through the details. But there are so many trainings out there that goes into details of Sentinel and how it works with Log Analytic Workspace. But without further ado, let's go ahead and do some labs together and implement the whole thing that we discussed. And yep, see how it goes. All right, guys, I'm back in the portal, Microsoft Azure portal. I'm going to go to my resource group, the one that we created earlier, cyber-lab. And in here, I'm going to create a new resource called Log Analytic Workspace. Search it. Where is it? Okay, I had to search workspace. This is the one that we're looking for, Log Analytics Workspace. Click on it. I'm going to create it. But we have to make sure that it's all under the same resource group, guys. Okay, don't create it in another resource group. I'm going to call it CyberXcel log. Oh, it can only contain letter. CyberXcel log. And the region should be same as well. Australia East. Next, we don't need any tagging here. All we have to do is just review and create this workspace. Alrighty, a validation passed. We can now go ahead and create this workspace. But as you guys can see, the pricing tier for me is pay as you go. You should look at it as well. If it doesn't allow you to create this workspace in your free trial, then I think you need to change it to pay as you go. But still, it's going to use your credit, the credit that you have right now, if you're using Azure for the first time. Click on create. I'm going to pause the video, guys. Awesome. The deployment is finished. Let's go back to our resource group and have a quick look at the Log Analytic Workspace. Where is it? CyberXcel log. Okay, you can name it anything that you want to. This is the name of my company, which is familiar for me. Okay, status active, operational issues. Okay, looks good, perfect. Now you see, it's actually giving you some tutorial here. Get started with Log Analytic Workspace. The good thing about Microsoft is you can find any like free resources on this to how to do this on your own. Like it's actually giving you the step-by-step process that you should take in order to get started. Connect the data source, configure monitoring solutions, and all of that. In this case, since we are dealing with a Linux machine, like we have to enable Log Analytic Workspace agent on the Linux VM, right? So it doesn't work like that. It's not that simple. For us to be able to send the syslog to the Log Analytic Workspace, we have to install an agent here on the VM itself. The agent itself here acts like a bridge between the Linux VM and Log Analytic Workspace. So it's a log collector agent, simply. Hope that makes sense. Now for us to start the installation of the agents, we go to agent section in the portal. We have Windows servers, we have Linux servers. Since we are dealing with a Linux server here, I'm going to click on that one and Log Analytic Agent Instruction. You see, so simple. All I have to do is just copy and paste these commands on the Linux VM. So let's do that together. Copy, I have my Linux VM connected here, but if you guys don't know how to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to my resource group, CyberLab. You guys remember we had Bastion installed. That's the whole thing. Bastion allows us to remotely access these VMs in a secure way without using SSH or RDP, all of that. So where is my Linux? I'm going to click on VM Linux. We have a section called Bastion. All you have to do, click on it, type in your username, the one that we created earlier when we were trying to deploy these VMs. Connect. You see, awesome. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to copy and paste this command here in this portal. Hope it works. Okay, awesome. Give it some time. Oh, you guys, you see, since we have a firewall, it doesn't allow the traffic. So I have to actually go ahead and allow the traffic on the firewall. Everything is being controlled, even the cloud environment. So if I want to go back here and show you the graph, so this is the Linux machine. The traffic goes to this gateway. After that, through the firewall, but the firewall is blocking the traffic because there is no rule allowing the traffic. So let's do that together. So I don't remember the IP address of the firewall. Let's go back to our resource, CyberLab. Where is it? CY firewall. That's the firewall we created. Public IP address. Okay, cool. I'm going to paste it here. I think I need to use HTTPS. Okay, cool. Advanced. Awesome. The IP address is changed because I'm doing the second lab 1 week after the one. So the IP address is dynamic, it changes. I didn't assign any static IP address on the firewall, but it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my policies, firewall policy. So from the DMZ to the WAN, the traffic is coming from here, from the DMZ network to the WAN, to the internet. So I have to go ahead and allow the IP address of the Linux machine. You can actually add it in the same rule. But you see, it's allowed ping and DNS, but HTTPS and web traffic is not allowed. So what I would do, I'm going to add HTTPS and HTTP at the same time. So let's go back to the VM. Okay, awesome. You see, it's now downloading everything. I love it when it happens. And you can actually go ahead and look at the logs. You can go and click on log and forward traffic. I'm going to change it to memory because it's faster. And I think this is the IP address of a Linux machine. Yep, HTTPS traffic. It's downloading all the things from github.com. We have NTP traffic, like you're controlling everything. Imagine you have all these logs on Sentinel. So many things that you can do. Okay. Let's give it some time. Hopefully we are not. Okay. Okay. When you get status code 0, it means it has been able to install successfully, which is good. Okay. All we have to do is just wait because it will take some time for the analytic workspace to detect this agent. Okay. So what I'm going to do just to wait, but before we wait for that, I'm actually going to go ahead and configure the data collection rules. It's important, guys. You shouldn't miss this part. So, you have installed the agent, but you have to create the rules to actually get started with collecting the logs, right? Click on this one. I'm going to create a new data collection rule. I'm going to type in, let's say, Syslog, since I'm trying to collect syslogs from the Linux machine. The region should be the same, Australia East, I think. Platform type is Linux. Okay, we can ignore that part. Click next. Add resources. We have to add the resources we have here. CyberLab. I'm specifically looking to collect the Linux machine logs. Click apply. Next. Okay. I did that. Tab. Okay, I'm not going to go ahead and change these settings. I mean, yes, you're going to get a lot of logs from the Linux machine, but let's keep it that way. But most of the time, you can only select authentication logs. But that's all right. I'm going to leave it as at that. Destination. This is, guys, it's really important. You have to make sure that you're sending the logs to the correct log analytic workspace. Sometimes there is another one, the one that is created by default. We don't want to send to that workspace. I have actually created a new one with you guys. As you have seen, I'm going to send all the logs to that one, CyberXcel log. Add data source. Perfect, all good. Next tag. I don't need to do any tagging here. Click next. Let's give it some time. I'm going to pause the video. So guys, as you can see, after I installed the agent and implemented data collection rules, you see that we have a one Linux computer connected to this workspace. That is great news. All right. Now, what's the next step? As you can see, we have an official document from Microsoft website how to connect the Fortinet firewall to Sentinel and workspace, right? I'm going to go ahead and perform the steps that are mentioned here. Linux Syslog agent configuration. It is telling us to select or create a Linux machine, which we have done so far already. What else? It's telling me to install the Ceph collector on the Linux machine. Okay, how are we going to do that? First of all, it's asking me to make sure that we have Python installed on the Linux machine. So what I would do, I'm going to copy and paste this command here. Paste it here and see what we'll get. Okay, great news. We have Python 2.7. Now, what else? What do we have? You must have elevated permission, which we do. All good. So I'm going to copy and paste this command as it's described here. Copy. Paste it here. This server already has an... Okay. Alright guys, now the next step is, since we installed this agent here successfully, now the next step is actually sending the logs from the next generation firewall, Fortinet in this case, to the Linux machine using syslog format, Ceph. And I think it should be on port 514 TCP, not UDP. But yeah, let's do this. And if there's any trouble, we will troubleshoot together, okay? Now let's go back to the portal. What's the private IP address of the Linux machine? So I'm actually inside the Linux machine properties. I just want to get the IP address, confirm it, 10.10.206. Now I'm going to go back to my firewall. Let's send all the logs to Linux machine. Okay, you go to the log settings. Log settings, event logging, all. Should we here? Okay, syslog logging. I'm going to click on this and enable it. And I'm going to log everything, guys. Okay, all the logs. And I want to send it all to my syslog. In this case, the IP address of the Linux machine. Paste. But I don't think we can change the settings. Yeah. So that's why we have to do it from the CLI itself, right? Config system. Guys, you have to do this with me, all right? I'm typing in config system, but since I don't remember all the commands, I'm going to type in question mark. So if you, let's say, type in config system, you will type question mark and it's going to guide you. Okay, the CLI setting of the FortiGate firewall is actually like this. You're going to type in config. What do we have? We have log, right? I'm going to go to log. Question mark again. Question mark helps us to understand like what the command will be. In this case, I'm looking for syslog D. What else? I think I can go ahead and click enter and go inside that mode. It's just like Cisco command, but you see it doesn't work like that. I have to go specific settings, enter. Awesome. Now, what commands do we have here? Set is actually changing the value and all of that. I'm going to click on set status enabled. I'm enabling it now. Okay, what is next? Set address of remote Syslog server. In this case, it's the IP address of the Linux machine. Server, what's the IP address? 10.10.206. 10.10.206. Okay, what do we have here? That's it. All good. This is done. I have to make sure that the format is in Ceph. Sorry, guys. Set format. Yep. Ceph. It's the requirement by Microsoft Sentinel. When you go to the details here, it's mentioned it here somewhere. All right, now we have to make sure that the mode is set to TCP by default. When you configure Syslog on a FortiGate firewall, it's going to be UDP, which is the standard one. In this case, we want to make sure it's reliable, all right? And the way to do that is going to type in set mode reliable. If you don't know about all these commands, like FortiGate website, like Fortinet website has all the details in their documents, PDF documents, which you can use. But after you configure the settings in Syslog, you have to make sure that you save the configuration, okay? So as you can see, when I type in question mark, it's going to tell me abort. If you type in abort, it's going to discard all the configuration that you have made so far. I don't want to do that. I'm going to type in end. It's going to enable it. Now, you see entries have changed since last load. It means that the configuration has been changed. I want to verify my configuration now on the firewall. What I would do, there are two ways to do it. Like we have get and show. Let's try both of them and see what we'll get. Get, I think log, yep. Syslog D, because we changed the configuration in Syslog D. And settings. See, it actually gave all the configuration that we have done. Status is enabled. It's sending all the logs to this IP address, which is the Linux machine. The mode is reliable TCP. The port is 514, default port of Syslog, facilities, local 7. I think we need to change it further down the line, but let's see how it works. Okay, what we have done so far. Linux is all done. We have installed the agent. Firewall is all done. We have configured the Syslog setting to send all the logs to this Linux machine, but we have to verify it, okay? Verify if the Linux machine is receiving the logs, and also the Linux is sending the logs to our log analytic workspace. Let's do that together, guys.